Come è cominciata la sua carriera di compositore?
I was getting completely uncontrollable at home when I was 17. Arguments with my father, all that adolescent stuff. And I joined a jazz band professionally when I was 17, playing the piano. Very vintage music, the earliest jazz music we played. And they were this was a band touring in Scotland, but they lived in the south of England, in Crawley, and so in one week I was in Scotland, and then I was in the south of England professionally playing the piano, and so I was with the band 4 years, and then I couldn't stand that because it was stifling. It was, I was held in, and I left. Managed to get into London where you needed to be to do anything, and then I started one-man show, Dadaistic one-man show, surreal eruption, and messing about, playing with tape recorders, and starting making electronic music, into films, live performances separate, and then just everything took off. The film, the commercial film world was quite separate from my Dadaistic performance, and maybe it still is. So that's how I started, listening to all the great composers, from Gesualdo to Luciano Berio, with Rachmaninoff in the middle.
Great.
And black jazz music. Black jazz music, and the French gypsy Django Reinhardt. Very important, essential to listen. Anyone who does not know about Django Reinhardt must listen to him. Ok.
Ron, in quali circostanze e come fu contattato dai Pink Floyd? Quale fu in particolare la loro richiesta?
Well, I was friends with Pink Floyd. I was introduced to Nick Mason first, the drummer Nick Mason. He came to our little flat in Notting Hill in London, and we just got on immediately, good friends. And then he introduced me to Roger Waters. We got on even better, very good friends. We played golf together. Crazy, but we did. And social, a bit of eating, a bit of drinking, listening to things. I would play them some of my black jazz music on shellac 78s, and they might say, well, what about electronics so-and-so, and da-da-da, and we just have dialogue, and it was great. London this is London in the late 1960s. Okay, very good. And then they had this piece, the management and EMI wanted the next album very immediately. And they had this piece which was called Epic. It's what I've got written on my original score, was just Epic. That's all this is a working title. And then they came to me and said, we've got this backing track, sections, what do we do? Can you do something with this? Can you put something on it? And I said to the manager, Steve O'Rourke, what can I have? What forces can I have? In other words, what's the budget? And we worked out that we could have 10 brass, 20 choir, and a solo cello on top of it, you know. And they said, we can afford that. And then we started to work out how to do the thing. Well, there wasn't much working out because they had to go to America on tour, and they left me with the tape, and I had to analyze all that, and the rest is history.
Sappiamo che ci furono alcune esecuzioni live della suite con coro e ottoni, non particolarmente riuscite, stando alle dichiarazioni della band, con molti problemi tecnici. Lei fu mai coinvolto in questi progetti come direttore d'orchestra e sa dirci veramente come andarono quelle esecuzioni?
Because I had a very bad experience in the studios at EMI with the brass musicians, the session musicians. I could not conduct. I could not conduct the whole event. So the choir master, John Aldis, took over the conducting in the studio to make the recording to the EMI album. When they went out on stage to do it live, John Aldis, although a great classical and choral conductor, did not particularly understand the rhythmic drive of the work, which my writing was more to do with Duke Ellington, you know, right, a bit more rhythm, more rhythm behind it, and some of the players that were engaged in the live performances were not good enough, not up to the job. So those are the technical problems. And when they did it in Hyde Park, in the free concert in Hyde Park, I left in tears. It was terrible. Really? It was just awful. I still remember. I still remember it. Don't set me off. Right. But that's life, you know. I've always said, you compose things, you make things, and you throw them up in the air, and they fall down like autumn leaves, and they might fall in the gutter, and they might make nice patterns in the air. You never know. Atom Heart eventually turned out to be patterns, you know, good patterns, but but not a happy. Sometimes not. But I didn't go to most of the live performances. I couldn't. I was working on other things, you know. Is that? Okay. Yeah. And it's an awkward. It was an awkward combination a bit of the rock or new wave rock area and quasi-classical. I say it's quasi-classical.
Not real classical.
No, well, nothing's real. What is real? We're into philosophy now, you see. No, there's nothing real in life. It's all a fantasy.
Yeah, really. Ron, la musica dei Pink Floyd sfugge a delle categorie precise. Perfino Atom Mother non può essere definito del tutto come un album progressive. Come interpreta lei la scelta di non proseguire in questa fusione fra rock e classica, un'operazione che tuttavia era abbastanza diffusa in quegli anni?
Nick Mason said to me recently, in the last 10 years, he said, it was a route we did not want to go on. That's it. They were developing their own aura, their sound, right? And the Atom Heart Mother, for them, was a dodgy experiment.
What do you mean with dodgy?
Dodgy meaning risky. Risky. Because remember that they had not heard any of what I did until we were in the EMI studio, standing there on the whatever morning it was. It might have been a Wednesday. I can't remember. Just, you know, what is this?
What is this?
Right? And then with me not getting on with the brass players, could have the whole thing. I was about to hit a horn player with a French horn, because he was being all mouth. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by that? What's this dot here? What's this note here? And I was going to go for him. Now, if I had gone for that fella, there would have been no Atom Heart Mother. The whole thing would have blown to buggery, as we say.
Very strange.
I'll tell you, that was right on the edge. So maybe that's another reason why Pink Floyd thought, I don't think we want to go down this route again.
It's enough.
It's enough, exactly. Yes.